Welcome to the Sit Down Zumock podcast. It's the Z-Man, the Lawson's Chip Dip consumer, the has-been baller, the rec league baller, averaging 3 points, 4 assists a game. The king is stupid, runner-up 2012 mayor of Parma, internet troll, Patton Oswalt's favorite comedian, Chad Zumock, right now joining you for episode 151, and it's a good one. I just recorded this episode an hour ago. I'm back at my home, and it was a good one. It was a guy I was trying to get on for quite some time. Our schedules would never line up, and we finally got it done. I talk about it in this episode. I'm always attracted to shit talkers. I like guys who think outside the box, keep it real. This guy keeps it real. If you're a fan of Roast Battle on Comedy Central, or if you go to the Comedy Store any given Tuesday, you might see this guy. Well, he's a regular at the Comedy Store, and he's a great comic. One of Brody Stevens' favorite comics, Earl Skakel, joins us on the Sit Down Zumock podcast, and we have a great conversation. We talk about his relationship with Roddy Piper. I used to do a podcast with him. We talk about Roast Battle. We talk about LA comedy in general, podcasting, the Patton Oswalt situation that I went through, that I'm still going through, and much more, including actor Jan Michael Vincent and 70s trucker films. Oh, it gets better. We talk about Rutger Hauer. We talk about Sylvester Stallone. The list goes on and on. You'll enjoy this episode. Thanks to everyone that reached out about what happened to me last week on the internet. I got to experience the ugly of the internet. I got to witness 4.7 million followers attack me. It was interesting to say the least. I talk about a little of that in this week's episode. But more importantly, the people that emailed me, sent me Facebook messages, tweets, even texts from friends and comedy friends and some fucking heavy hitters in comedy that had my back. Over a joke. And that support meant a lot to me because it was coming at me hard. I had to go protected tweets for like a day and a half because it was coming at me nonstop. I don't understand anybody with more than 100,000 Twitter followers that can reply or keep up. It's unbelievable. I mean, it was a crazy situation. And for those of you wondering about my status on Punch Drunk Sports with my buddy Sam Tripoli and Jason Tebow, Ari Shafir, it's still up in the air. I want to thank Ari Shafir for publicly supporting me and defending me on Punch Drunk. I thought that was really cool. It meant a lot to me. And let's just say some emails were sent. There's some things in motion. I don't know what my status is as of right now. I'm staying positive. I think we'll get some information. As soon as I get it, I will break it. I've been breaking everything on the Patreon lately. I've been putting more things on the Patreon. If you're not on the Patreon, you got to get on the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/sitdownzumock, and for $3 a month, only $3. Most people charge $5. I charge $3. I throw up additional content, additional episodes, and it helps with the podcast. And at this point, it might help with my life. As of right now, it might help with my life. I want to thank the $20 club. The microphone feed status, $10 or more, $20 or more. My man Donovan Colberl. Man, Donovan's been a supporter from day one. He's not only a monthly Patreon, but he sends money through chadzumock.com. Picked up my album. He's a good dude. I want to thank Hollywood_FatPad. He's in the $10 club. Kevin Cernier, my man, he was a sponsor of the show. For $100, you could sponsor the show. I read whatever you want me to read. I will sponsor a product, a business, you name it. Kevin, he's been a longtime supporter. He's a Ohio insurance rep for State Farm. Hit Kevin Cernier up. Even though he's not the $100 sponsor, I'll still back his business because he's always been backing me. Go to kevincernier.com. John Robinson, what's up, John? Thank you so much for the Patreon. And everyone that signed up as of late. It's it all goes right back to the podcast. Like I said, I'm going to build some video equipment. I'm going to build some video equipment. I'm going to build like a mini studio with video equipment, and I want to make this thing bigger and go in a lot of different directions. So thanks to all the support. Thanks to people that left the 5 stars over on the iTunes or where you leave ratings in the comments. If you don't got the cash, leave a 5-star review or a comment. Anything helps with the algorithms to get this thing a little traction. Get it out there, I got to get a little bit more serious about this podcast. I've been very inconsistent over the last couple years, but I'm definitely going to make this a priority. People seem to like it, and from time to time I neglect it, and I can't do that any longer. I took the month of April off from stand-up. I got a couple spots in the city, but I did that back in January. I told myself I'm not going to book anything in April. I booked like a couple 12-minute spots, the Comedy Magic Club, Ha Ha Cafe, a couple bar shows, but I was getting really burned out from the road. I was going through a tough time. My depression, I've talked about it. The episode's on the Patreon. A lot of trauma that I'm dealing with, and the road started to fuck with me a little bit. I was going hard for 4.5 years, just grinding, and I love doing stand-up. Don't get me wrong; it's something I really enjoy doing. But when it becomes a grind and it stresses you out, you got to take a step back. I think it's anything you do in life, you got to take a step back if it's starting to affect your health. And it was affecting mine, so I'm working on that right now. I got a lot of things cooking. I'll keep you up to speed. But again, thanks for all the support. I honestly couldn't do it without you. All right, guys, let's get to this week's episode with Earl Skakel. I think it's a good one. I think you'll enjoy it. I love the podcast where you can just have a great conversation, and next thing you know, it's an hour-and-a-half podcast, and that's what this was. And if you're on a treadmill, your car, your trucker, enjoy it. Brody Stevens. That's a wrap.
Bunch of bullshit. Bunch of bullshit. Bunch of bullshit.
Sit down, Zumock.
Hit me.
Sit down, Zumock.
Yeah, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
This is it, man. This is a guy I've wanted to get on the podcast for quite some time now. I've gone back and forth. I had to go through your agency, your manager.
Earl Skakel Associates. One of my Donald Trump, my own publicist.
I kept getting redirected.
I mean, you obviously weren't trying hard enough. I'm pretty easy to book at this juncture.
I was saying before the podcast, I'm always attracted to troublemakers, shit talkers, people that cause problems.
But I'm none of those. I'm a voice of the voiceless. I speak for the unspoken. See, to me, though, talking shit is, like I once was talking about Amy Schumer with someone, and they were like, well, she sucks. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to play your game. Why does she suck?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, no one's worth $37 million a year. I'm like, oh, you just don't like her because she makes a lot of money.
Right.
If I say anything bad about someone, there's a reason behind it. And I don't have too many bad things to say about too many people, but, I stick up for myself.
Yeah.
I don't think that's talking shit.
No, I get it.
But, I think that gets confused a lot with, if you're outspoken, you're bitter. I'm not bitter at all. I got a big dick. I got money. I'm on 4 TV shows, 3 of which have been canceled. So I'm actually happy. But as someone with no agency or management, you got to stick up for yourself.
Yeah.
Or you'll just get walked on.
Right.
So I think that, I believe you're alluding to my situation with Comedy Central and Roast Battle, but I'm doing Comedy Central's festival. So I don't know if they liked how I went about my grievances, but I didn't burn a bridge because I never said.
Was the Clusterfest?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm not trying to like plug something 2 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah.
But like,
Where can people buy your shirts?
I don't have any shirts. What am I, Eddie F? But like, I don't, I don't take back one word I said about my situation, and I've had a lot of conversations with Comedy Central executives, and
Right.
I laid out my viewpoint, and they disagree with most of it, but I went about it in a nice way. I never said the network sucks or Jeff Ross is this or Brian Moses is that. I'm like, this is what happened to me. This is why I'm upset.
Yeah.
And so
I get it. No, I'm coming off a situation, and you're not aware of it because we were going back and forth with Pat and Oswald. This is actually the first podcast I've released, and I know I've gotten a lot of subscribers. A lot of people asking when the next episode is. I couldn't think of a better guy to come in with.
Well, it's just the way I was raised from my parents. Just don't take shit from anybody.
Yeah.
And I treat everyone the same, whether it's you, Russell Peters, Jeff Ross, or Jeff the janitor. So I expect the same treatment.
Or Jeff Ross the janitor.
I'm sure there is a Jeff Ross the janitor, but but even when I challenged Jeff Ross to a roast battle, everyone thought you're crazy. Why do you not like Jeff? I'm like, I love Jeff. That's why I want to battle him. He's the best roaster on the earth.
Yeah.
How is that like? Saying anything bad about him? To me, it's paying tribute to him. Like, hey, you're the best. I want to see how I would do.
It's like going one-on-one with Jordan.
Yeah. Do you hate Jordan because you want to, because that's how I am, whether it be when I play hockey, which I, have many trophies around my palatial.
No, man. What are you, Mario Lemieux?
No, I just have a super hard shot that no goalie in rec league hockey can stop. It's like Happy Gilmore.
What are you, Kenny Powers of hockey?
It's like this weird wind-up shot I have that
Yeah.
if I can get it off, there's not a goalie in rec league hockey who can stop it. It's
Wow.
Because it's not only hard, and I could hear viewers dropping by the second with me talking about my slap shot in rec league hockey. But it's not only hard, but it's unpredictable. Like, I could shoot it 5 times, and it would go in 5 different directions. So, but I learned so much about sticking up for yourself through hockey, because hockey's a very it's a very macho sport, and it's a very, like, even in the NHL, like, the playoffs start tomorrow. You'll see if someone from the team Tampa Bay. I don't know who Tampa Bay is playing. I think, being a hockey fan, I would know their first round opponent. But if someone takes a run at Nikita Kucherov on Tampa's going to take a run at their player.
Yeah.
It's a very, so that's how I am in comedy. If someone takes a run at me, I bury them.
Yeah.
But it's all truthful.
You haven't gone head-to-head with Jeff yet, have you? Just challenged him?
No, I would love to, just because.
He doesn't want it.
I think in his, I had a Comedy Central executive explain to me, well, dude, it just wouldn't look good if you beat him. And I'm like, see, I think it would, because I'm one of the best roast battlers on earth. And it's a niche show, so nobody really cares. But, like, that's a great, and there's a storyline of, the guy who left the show because he wasn't happy how he was treated. He wants to go after Jeff. And Jeff's, like, the best roaster on earth.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. I don't want to battle some open micer from Long Beach.
Yeah.
What does that do?
Yeah.
So
I thought Blake Griffin was the best roast master.
Well, I mean, but see, to me, I don't like those celebrity battles.
I think it's terrible.
But see, once again, like, most people will say, most people involved with roast battle will say, "Oh, that sucked," because they're just jealous Blake took their spot.
Yeah.
But, like, Sarah Tiana is one of my homies.
I love Sarah.
She set me up with my girlfriend, so I love.
She's never set me up with shit.
Well, dude, look in the mirror. I mean, come on. You got a face for a podcast. Now I'm going into roast battle mode. But, like, I don't like the battle she had with Dolph from the standpoint of, and you could say the same thing about Jeff and Blake, was, to me, the best you're hoping for is that Blake or Dolph get in a good one.
Yeah.
Like, and I just don't, that's the opposite to me of what roast battle is about. It's like, roast battle is me going up against Tiana, 2 equal abilities, Jeff going up against, Pat Barker or whoever. Because then what happens if they do get a good one in?
Yeah.
Or two good ones. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, Jesus. So, but, I'm not a Comedy Central executive, so I don't know what they look for.
I want to do it. I have yet to do it. I've written for people for the roast, and
For like a Comedy Central roast?
yes, I've written for people.
See, those are two different things, though.
Yeah.
Like, I recently did the roast of Shane Doan. Once again, viewers are dropping like flies.
The fucking name drops.
Well, but Shane Doan is if you follow hockey, he's a very famous hockey player. He's famous for playing on the same team for 21 years.
Oh wow, respect.
Phoenix Coyotes. Their first year was in Winnipeg, and now listenership is at an all-time low now. When I'm talking about the Coyotes' path to, but he's, it's pretty impressive that he stayed on one team. Never won a Stanley Cup, and he was the type of hockey player that everyone wants on their team.
He's like the Reggie Miller of hockey.
Yeah, he's good at everything. He's tough. He'll
Plays
stick
on
up.
one team.
Yeah.
Never won the big one.
And we had a roast for him in Phoenix at the House of Comedy.
Oh, I knew that. Yes, Tammy Bronson told me. About
Tammy and Rick Bronson, the best. I mean, I wish every club owner were like them.
Yeah.
They just get it.
And to my understanding, you'll be there at the end of the month with Eleanor Kerrigan.
See, that's a pro. That's a podcasting pro there. Plugging a gig, unbeknownst to me, and we'll be in Edmonton in August at their comedy club in Edmonton. But 24 hours before the roast, 2 or 3 people dropped out, and Rick called me, and I don't think he would mind me saying this. I don't know if I would say he was in a panic, but he's like, hey, can you bring some roast battle comics up to fill in for, I think, a sports reporter who dropped out and 2 other people.
You probably made it better.
Well, I was like, I don't think that's a good idea because they're not going to know how to pay tribute to Shane Doan. Roast battle, you're just shitting on someone.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
They're just going to crap on him for not winning the Stanley Cup or being boring, and there's not going to be a nice bow at the end of it.
Right.
Like me and Bartnick and Schubert and
hockey
Chris
fans.
Frangiola killed. We all shit on him, of course.
But you know your shit.
But and we were also at the end like, hey, I wish I had your career.
Yeah.
You're worth $50, $60 million because you're good at what you do. Roast battle comics would have just shit on him.
Yeah, and said goodnight.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, why isn't anyone clapping? Oh, that the wave's not helping me out when a joke bombs. So it's 2 different skill sets.
One of the reasons why I wanted you on this podcast, and it was a weird way I found out about you because, and I've talked about it with you, and I've talked about it on this podcast. My comedic influence was never a stand-up comic. Possibly Eddie Murphy. Possibly. But my top 3 and my number 1 was Roddy Piper. I wanted to be a shit talker on the mic. That's the only reason I did stand-up comedy. I want to talk shit. And I remember a comedian friend of mine, Chris Clem, who's a big wrestling guy, told me about you, and you did a podcast, and I started listening. So I knew about you from Rowdy's podcast.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Simone. I must give Steve Simone full credit for bringing Roddy up to the Comedy Store I don't know if Roddy wanted to be a stand-up per se, but I think everyone's intrigued by what we do. Like,
Yeah.
You see it today. People from all areas.
Jeremy Piven, Michael Rappaport.
Brendan Schaub is very successful.
Yeah.
But at least Schaub works hard. I'll give him
No,
that.
Schaub's got the
Like,
comics back.
because I think in his case he writes, he goes up every night, or I don't know his schedule, but like Piven and Rappaport, they seem like nice guys, but
Rappaport, he just likes doing it.
yeah, and he's a very I liked him in all the movies. He was in Prison Break. I mean, Game Over, season 4, which was that didn't jump the shark, it jumped the whole fucking ocean.
Was he in Wanted, Dead or Alive with Rutger Hauer?
And Gene Simmons, thank you very much.
Oh yeah, Gene Simmons was in that.
Yeah, he was the bad guy. The best ending to a movie I've ever seen. Where
I forgot.
As if talking about the Winnipeg Jets wasn't going to get less viewers. Talking about a Gene Simmons movie in the mid '80s is an all-time. There's literally no one listening right now.
Rutger Hauer had that little shotgun. I remember.
Yeah, he was paid to capture Gene Simmons. He got a bonus if he brought him in alive. So the end scene of the movie is there's a hand grenade in Gene Simmons' mouth.
That's right.
Rutger Hauer's like, fuck the bonus. And he pulled the pin and he blew up.
A 1984 film, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that was Runaway with Tom Selleck.
Uh,
Wanted Dead or Alive came out in 1987.
When did The Hitcher come out? Because that was another
Round 87.
Okay, he was on fire. Hauer?
I bought his biography. I think it's up there somewhere.
Rutger Hauer's biography.
Well, I only bought it because one of my favorite Stallone movies. It's very under the radar. I mean, Stallone's done a lot of movies.
Dude, Stallone's got some great work.
But you're
going to say Nighthawks?
Yes. And Rutger Hauer was his first American film.
That's right.
And
Stallone with the full beard.
Yeah, with Billy D. Williams as Detective Matt Fox.
1981.
81, I think it was released in 82, but it was a great story, and it's. I almost didn't like hearing this story because it kind of ruins. I'm an idiot. I think every film was shot in sequence. I really believe that. The opening scene in Nighthawks when Stallone's in drag and he's chasing the bad guy was shot first. The second scene was shot second. In Nighthawks, the first scene was the end scene.
I didn't know that.
Where, once again, this is why I'm going on at 3 a.m. at most clubs. Because I can tell you the sequencing of Nighthawks.
By the way, we're getting back to Roddy Piper.
Absolutely.
I just saw Wanted Dead or Alive on a shelf, and I fucking went. So stay with us.
So long story short, it was Rutger Hauer's first American movie. It was a big deal to him. He didn't know Stallone at all. So in the very first scene, if you've seen Nighthawks, you realize the end scene is when he kills Rutger Hauer. And Rutger Hauer has a wire attached. He gets shot 6 times.
Yeah. Oh, spoiler.
So no one's gonna watch fucking Nighthawks in 2019. If you haven't seen Nighthawks by now, you're probably not gonna watch it.
Unless Hollywood remakes it.
They probably will. Yeah. He gets shot 6 times. There's a wire that each time he gets shot, he gets pulled back, so it looks like he's recoiling. Unbeknownst to Rutger Hauer, Stallone, I guess there's settings on these stunt wires 1 through 10, 1 being, the least, 10 being the hardest. Rutger Hauer was told the wire set at 3, so you'll feel a nice pull, but it won't be anything too bad. Well, Stallone wanted realism, so he had the stunt guy set it up to 10.
Oh, shit.
So if you look at that last scene in Nighthawks, you'll notice that the surprised look on Rutger Hauer's face, it's all real.
It's not acting.
And that's the first scene they shot together, so the whole rest of the movie they hated each other
because he fucked him over.
Yeah, so in every scene where they're chasing, Rutger Hauer, who was in good shape, would outrun Stallone, and so you could tell there was a tension, which actually kind of worked.
Yeah, because
the few scenes they actually have together, you could tell they do not like. You can tell
there's method.
You could tell when comics don't like each other.
Oh yeah,
there's just the way they look at each other. So getting back to Piper.
I thought about 3 of them, but I'm not going to say their names. Go ahead, Roddy.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I used to say their names. Really, I kind of like everyone, all but 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'm probably in that same ballpark.
Well, it's just it's. And I'm almost giving advice to the 1 or 2 people I don't like. It's it's a small world.
I know.
And the more successful you get, it's weird. It gets smaller.
Yeah.
There's open micers right now who will be the biggest comic in the world in 5 years.
Right.
Literally, there's an open micer right now who will be headlining theaters in 5 years, maybe even less. So you should be nice to everyone.
Yeah.
It's just, even if you don't, I think my reasons for not liking the 1 or 2 people I don't like are very, very valid.
Right.
But getting back to Piper, Steve Simone would bring him up to the Comedy Store, and he'd flame out after about 10 minutes. He didn't have a lot of jokes.
Who, Roddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love him.
Was this during the dark days of the
This
store?
This was in the Tommy Morris era where, I don't think Adam right now would put up a pro wrestler who'd never done stand-up before.
Yeah.
It's just not. I mean, right now, the lineup tonight is insane. It's Rogan, Burr,
Kreischer.
D'Elia, Kreischer, Tiana, just and then I'm on that. I'm on the lineup, and I'm going, I don't know if I should be on this lineup.
Right.
And I think I'm funny. I mean, the other night it was insane. This is A-lister, Earl. I was like, oh, fuck.
He did put up Chevy Chase, though.
But I could understand
No, I'm just
that.
fucking around.
Although, Chevy's not really a stand-up, but the stories, which was why kind of Piper got in there, because after about 10 minutes of not, wasn't exactly a material either.
Right. He was working it out.
I don't know what he was working, but he was up there. He was behind the mic. I'll give him that. And then he'd kind of like want us to ask questions in the back of the room. And like you said, this is in the dark era of the store when there was probably 10 people in the room.
Yeah.
Like tonight it would have been different. Like, it's roast battle night. It's there's a show in the main room, so
Everything's sold out.
Everything's sold out. But even at the end of the night, people will filter in from those rooms into the original room, which is where Piper would perform mainly. And so, but back in that day, no one was ballsy enough to ask him questions. So it'd usually be me asking like just the weirdest questions I could think of. Like, hey, Piper, a big fan. Jerry Sandusky from the Penn State Tribune. Was it true that Abdullah the Butcher was really from the Sudan? Just dumb. And then he would literally tell a 40-minute story about Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah.
Hey, how big was Mark Henry's shits? And he would tell a 40-minute story about Mark Henry. So it was just surreal to be able to sit there and see this guy you grew up hating.
We met Mark Henry a couple years ago. In fact, it was with Brody. We're in Austin. That's where he lives. We went to a barbecue place, and Mark Henry was just hanging out. And I said, that's the world's strongest man, Mark Henry.
That's a big dude.
Yeah, big dude. And then we got photos with him, and he was really nice. Said he was going to come to the show, never showed.
Well, I mean, Mark Henry, he's probably lazy. Hello. I'm getting into the racial stereotypes. Which is crazy that there's a black champion now in the WWE. First time ever.
You think that, and then the all-female event, come on. They're so trying to go the Hollywood school of what's going on right now.
Well, the problem with finish up with Piper. I could talk about Piper for 3 hours.
He was like my comedic influence. Piper's Pit as a kid. As a child, I was always attracted to the heel. I always loved the. And there was
sure.
No one better than Piper talking.
Oh,
shit.
He was the best.
Yeah.
There's no WrestleMania without him because you needed Hogan to have a foil. It's like any TV show, like 24 was great when Jack Bauer had that foil to go up against.
Yeah.
And then it started to not, be as good because it was like, all right, how many Arab terrorists are there in this world? Really any cop Miami Vice was great. The first 3 seasons of Miami Vice were amazing.
Yeah.
But then on seasons 4 and 5, it's like, all right.
When they brought in Phil Collins.
That's one of my favorite episodes.
Okay.
Phil the Shill. I even remember the name of the episode because it had my favorite character in Miami Vice history, which is stand-up related. If you watch Miami Vice, you realize that Izzy, he was like the con man. And he was always butchering the English language.
Yeah, who played Izzy?
Izzy was a character actor by the name of Martin Ferrero. He was the guy who was eaten by the dinosaur in the toilet in Jurassic Park.
Oh, shit.
But to bring it full circle into the comedy world and back to Jeff Ross, they usually would pair Izzy with Charlie Barnett, the great New York street comic who was friends with Jeff.
Dave Chappelle credits him.
It's such a sad story. He was, I don't know if he was dyslexic or he just couldn't read.
Yeah.
But he auditioned for SNL. He was moving up every tier of the audition process. And then his last audition, I think he was told, hey, you got to read off the cue cards for this one. And he got scared and he didn't show up.
Oh.
And Eddie Murphy got the part.
But
Charlie Barnett is like, if you ask any New York comic from Jeff Ross to Dave Attell to Chappelle, I mean, when Chappelle cites you as an influence, but he was usually paired with Izzy and Miami Vice as like the comic relief. But like in wrestling specifically, like every good guy can't function without a good bad guy.
Right.
I try to watch WrestleMania. It's just too fucking long. It's almost 6 hours.
And it's just, nonstop build up and promos. And back in the day, I could swallow those pay-per-views. It's just a different era, and I don't really connect with this era.
I mean, I really tried. I thought, okay, I'm going to watch this from start to finish. I'm going to see, you don't care about, they're just muscle-bound, either power lifters or they can't act.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Piper, when I first started to get to know him, I'm like, dude, I used to hate you. And you could tell he got sad. He's like, why did you hate me? I'm like, because I thought it was fucking real. Like,
Yeah. That's how good he was.
yeah, and like some of the other bad guys from that, Rick Rude was
Ravishing Rick Rude.
I mean, I heard he was kind of a dick in real life.
Cut
so,
the music.
you fat New Jersey swamp hogs.
Him and Mr. Perfect.
Oh, Mr. Perfect was so funny. That video of him doing everything perfect, like where he throws the football and then they cut to him catching it, like it's like so stupid. But
And they paired him up with Bobby Heenan, which was great.
it was a great.
The best.
I mean, there's only one manager today that even resembles what Bobby Heenan. Gary Hart's my favorite manager. Now he was more in the Mid-South territories. I don't know if he was ever in the WWE, but he was a white guy who spoke jive. And
yes.
He was Abdullah the Butcher's main manager, was his big one. And he's like, you know, my brothers, Abdullah the Butcher, my brother. And there's the best, it's the funniest. If your listeners get anything from this podcast, I believe it's called Gary Hart and Killer Brooks. And this shows how low budget 80s wrestling was. They're cutting a promo in like an oil field. And they have Killer Brooks rolling around in mud, like to show you he's crazy.
Yeah.
And Gary Hart's cutting this great promo. It's like, Killer Brooks. He's talking like Bill Cosby. I'm like, my brother. And all of a sudden, a black guy drives by in a Cadillac. And this is not part of the sketch. And it's like, Gary Hart, my brother. And Gary Hart just turns around and goes, I'm busy, my brother. And he goes right back into the promo. And like, because, you know, Mid-South wrestling didn't have the budget WWE did for a reshoot. So, yeah, I mean, Roddy was...
and it was all improv. It was off the top of his head. It wasn't a scripted thing like they do now.
Well, he's very... Yeah, it's just too... I don't know. You'd think with all the acting classes and teachers they could hire today that they'd be better at promos and. But you're right. It's just too scripted.
They can't go off script. I remember hearing an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like the whole Austin 316 was born out of improv.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't like him, but you know, because he had a large part in Roddy being kicked off the podcasting network.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, these guys are like comics. Some wrestlers don't like each other, and Stone Cold was upset about Will Sasso's impression of him. And from what I've been told, this was right before I had joined Roddy to be his co-host. Stone Cold basically told him, "It's him or me. You guys pick." This is podcast 1. I don't know why I'm plugging them, but. And then, so I came on. We did a few episodes on podcast 1, probably a month or two, and then we got kicked off. And then we went to Earwolf, which is like where the Sklar brothers were doing there. And then we got kicked off of there. And then the plan, and I know Chael Sonnen fibbed and said him and Piper were supposed to do something. The real story was Piper was just going to start doing my podcast. We weren't going to call it Inappropriate Earl. We never really got into what we were going to call it. Probably Piper's Pit. Yeah. And then the first episode, he was supposed to come over, and he died that day.
Oh, fuck.
And I hate to... I'm like the podcast Grim Reaper because Piper died the day he was supposed to come over here. Brody Stevens died the day he was supposed to come over and do my podcast. And I've had a third guest whose husband killed her like a couple weeks after she did my podcast. So,
what?
To the 2 open micers I don't like in Los Angeles, why don't you come on my podcast tomorrow? Just kidding. I'm a better man now. It's not my life anymore.
Invite Yakov Smirnoff. I have, by the way, I have nothing against the guy.
Well, I'll invite Patton Oswalt. Now,
that's why I got in trouble. By the way,
I don't want to run the interview because I hate when like people kind of take over my podcast.
It's a conversation. It's
Inappropriate Earl on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud.
By the way, you're always like in the top 10 and shit.
Not anymore. There was controversy, and it just goes to, like I this might bore some of your listeners. It might entertain them. I was frequently, for a year, I was in the top 10. At one point on a Saturday, I was number 1 on iTunes Comedy for like 12 hours.
Like ahead of Rogan.
Rogan, everyone.
Yeah.
And even I still don't know why for that 1 12-hour period.
Who was the guest?
Well, it was a series of probably 7 or 8 episodes in a row where every guest had like over 100,000 followers. Jeff Ross came on. He had like, I think, 1 million followers on Twitter and Instagram. Guy Brannon came on. He had like 400,000 followers. Chris Frangiola came on. And then Tyler, the Creator, who he didn't come on, but I'm on his cartoon, The Jellies. He sent out a tweet, says, "Hey, if you like my dad on the Jellies, you'll love his podcast." And he has like 4 million followers on Twitter and Instagram, which is it's really all who promotes you. Like,
Yeah.
if you had Tyler, the Creator, do that for this podcast, you'd be in the top, at least the top 50 from. I mean, I don't know what you're ranked now. Are you?
No, I'm not even in the top 100. I look at my Lipson numbers. They're solid. They're like good for what I'm doing. I'm trying to build it more. And
Oh, who isn't?
yeah,
But I mean, you would be in the top probably 20 just from one tweet from Tyler, the Creator.
I've had Kreischer on 4 times, and he's tweeted it once, and that helped.
Well, there's a science to, I don't know if your listeners find, the inside world of podcasting, charting, but like there is a science to it. Like someone like Bert tweeting it out, when Jeff tweeted out.
It's analytics and.
Well, it's Jeff sent out a really funny tweet, something to the effect of, "I can't believe I was on the filthiest couch I've ever been on, but listen to this podcast." And then someone like, not Todd Barry, but someone like that, one of Jeff's friends retweeted it, and but someone reported me for a music violation, which is crazy because I only use one song. And it's my friend's band. And I have his permission because he's like, yeah, it's publicity for me, and so I got taken off the charts, and Apple Podcast or iTunes, whoever's, I still get confused as to what to call it. They were like, yeah, we did 2 investigations on you. You didn't do anything wrong, but we can't put you back in the charts. I'm like, why not? And they're like, well, we don't manipulate chart positioning. I'm like, well, I don't want you to give me anything I didn't have. I was number 8 on Monday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I was literally off the charts. That's not possible to fall off.
Yeah.
192 spots. And they're like, well, there's a lot of things that go into it we can't tell you about. I'm like, yeah, but it's still not. You can't go from number 8 to 400. It's impossible. So I've given up trying to get back on the chart.
That's why Lori Laughlin's daughter doesn't have a podcast.
Well,
Topical.
Hello. I used to jack off to her, not
Me
the
too.
daughter, but in a Secret Admirer. See, everyone says Full House, but if you want a prime Lori Loughlin, the 80s, I think it was about 85-ish, Lori Loughlin, Fred Ward, Casey Simansko. It's the real deal.
I'll do you one better. I jerked off to her in the movie Rad with Bill Allen.
Jesus, that is going deep. I thought you meant Rat, my favorite 80s metal group.
Round and round.
Let's come around for them.
Yeah.
So, but it's crazy with podcasting, like,
Right.
The ins and outs of, Will Ferrell. I mean, obviously he's Will Ferrell. He debuted, I think, at number 1, which is unheard of.
Well, he did his Ron Burgundy character, so that helps. People seem to like that.
Conan, there's obviously we're not on their level of fame, but
Yeah.
But then you have like a show like My Favorite Murders killing it.
Yeah.
And they're 2 at the time relatively unknown hosts, so it's.
People are always telling me I need to do a theme, but I don't want to. I have a radio background. I got a good. I just want to talk. Who gives a fuck?
Well, I mean, I started out with that attitude. I just want to interview my funny friends
And talk.
At the time, Roast Battle was still a building show. It wasn't the juggernaut it is now.
Yeah.
But then I started to realize, if you can get a celebrity on, like the Piper episode, like got like 10 times the numbers a Roast Battle comic got. So
Right.
that kind of got me into, maybe I should. I mean, I started this wanting to talk and just talk to my friends and be like a poor man's Rogan. Like Rogan has made careers. Hinchcliffe.
Oh, he's the new Johnny Carson.
Yeah, I'd rather do Rogan than Conan.
Yeah. But, 2
And
hours on Rogan, you're selling tickets.
you could go from literally feature act to headliner.
Yeah.
But I wanted to like be a poor man's Rogan. Like, here, I'll have this unknown open micer on, and maybe people book him or her. And but then it's like, I got to get some big names.
Yeah.
Big names try. I just had Rob Riggle on mine, and it blew up for me. It blew
Right.
up, and so it's just like now I'm trying to.
No, I've had some names on, so and it does help because they kind of experience what you're about, and maybe they'll stick with it and like it and roll with it. Like Chuck D from Public Enemy.
That's
was on.
huge.
Yeah, Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC.
Boy.
I think that's Flavor Flav. Oh. Wow.
But Flavor Flav would be huge.
Oh, he lives in Vegas. I could probably make that happen.
I was just talking about this with my girlfriend. Like, I just need that one guest where it's like, oh my God, they were on Inappropriate Earl.
Yeah.
And maybe it's Tyler, the Creator, because he doesn't do a lot of interviews.
I think Eminem slammed him in a song.
Yeah, anything. And he doesn't. You talk about a guy. I have so many open micers come up to me and go, I love how you go rogue.
Yeah.
Tyler, the Creator, goes rogue.
Yeah.
Like, he names names in songs if he has a problem with someone. Like, I'm a little more, I don't know what the right word is, passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
I'll bury someone where I just leave every clue, but I won't name them.
Yeah.
I want the fans to do a little bit of legwork.
See, that's where I fucked up on my Patton Twitter war.
No, explain to me, because I know that you and him are going at it on Twitter. I'm not trying to set you up for a big story here. What is it about? Because I have zero idea.
Well, yeah, I know we talked about that, and I think some people that are listening probably want to know exactly what the fuck happened from my perspective. I did it for my Patreon, so if you want to sign up for my Patreon, go to patreon.com/sitdownzumock. But this is actually what happened. I saw a tweet from Jordan Peele. Well, it was about Jordan Peele it was last week, he said, I won't cast white male leads, which is fine. It's his movie. Do whatever the fuck you want. Then Patton had a very pandering tweet to him. He quote tweeted it. So, I don't know, I was in a bad mood or a weird mood. I just tweeted at him, directly at him, like, you're a Hollywood suck-up. Quit kissing this guy's ass. He's a young, hot, black director. Like, why don't you give up your roles? You're in sitcoms and Pixar films. So he quote tweets back. Yeah, he goes, yeah, I'm vanilla. I'm soy, blah, blah, blah. And he's like trying to make me like I'm an alt-right guy or something. So his fans start bombarding me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so they're tweeting at me, and I'm responding. I'm in roast mode now because they're wishing cancer on me and whatever, you name it. And some guy said something about you'll never be as famous as Patton. I was like, I'm not chasing fame. So Patton quote tweets it. He goes, good, it's running away from you on a jet ski. For no reason. I didn't tweet at him. He just saw that and thought he would just roast me there. So I'm like, all right. So I tweeted at him, no wonder why Brody Stevens didn't like you.
And this is after Brody died?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he goes, oh, great. And he quote tweets. He goes, now this guy's talking about my friend who committed suicide. And I thought it was a pussy move. Like, come on, really? You had to bring that into it?
See, I like it.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
Hit it. I mean, hit them where they're weak.
Yeah. So from there, and I wrote, his wife started tweeting me, Patton. And during all this exchange, there was a bunch of people saying he killed his wife. I mean, allegedly, I don't know. I wasn't really familiar with the situation. So when his wife tweeted at me, I just wrote, I go, hey, sister, sleep with one eye open tonight. Be safe. He tweets it and says, now he's threatening my wife. Now I'm getting phone calls from everybody. Chris Titus is jumping in. Everyone's coming. Dave Anthony. And I'm getting bombarded. I had to protect my tweets because I couldn't keep up with this hate. And I got suspended from Punch Drunk. They told me we were doing the podcast. They told me to leave the studios at All Things Comedy. And
what? But is that because Bill Burr's friends with Patton Oswalt, or
no? Bill Burr has nothing to do with it.
I'm just. Why would Punch Drunk? I would think Punch Drunk would almost embrace the.
Punch Drunk didn't give a shit, but All Things Comedy didn't want to be attached to this.
Oh, okay.
Because it was out of control, and they didn't want their thing attached.
Right,
to this
right.
Beef, which I can understand. I get it. I'm just talking shit, and it got out of hand. I tell a bad joke. It was never a threat. It was just a joke. But I can understand why he was upset. And at that point, it's died down quite a bit, but I'm still getting it. People are still coming at me.
I mean, I don't have too many trolls, but I had a few with Roast Battle when I beat Jimmy Carr, and I think I went on Reddit. So, I want to see what the fans think of me on Reddit, and I'll never go online again.
Oh, Reddit's the worst.
Well, I didn't really know what it was, and someone should say, just put in your name and Jimmy Carr just to see what people think of the battle. And it's like his fans were just bombarding that thread with this guy sucks. I hope he dies of cancer. Hope his mom gets raped. And he's unfunny, and those are the nice ones.
I know.
So I'm like, I don't. And to be honest with you, in a second of seriousness on this podcast, like I believe that's what possibly pushed Brody over the edge. Was he went online and read the reviews to his stand-up special, which inevitably there were bad reviews. There were a lot of good ones too, but like, if you're not of mental, whatever you want to call it, sound mind. Which none of us are. No comic is of sound mind because you wouldn't be doing comedy. Yeah. And I believe that's...
I'm perfect stability.
I mean, I'm pretty with it. I know your fans don't know me, but like I never had a drug or drink in my life. By all accounts, I'm normal. Like I work out and all that stuff. I get depressed. Like when I see bad reviews, you go on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And you look up any stand-up clip of yours, mine, Eddie If's, whoever.
Especially Eddie If's.
I love If. Like If keeps it real.
No, I like it.
Although he did call me one night in the comedy store. There's Chappelle, and literally left me mid-sentence. But he keeps it real. But I don't read reviews anymore.
No, I don't go after him because I just don't want that. And I remember I was on Brody's second to last podcast, and I feel horrible. I was reading his reviews to him. He was being a good sport about it, but I feel I didn't realize they probably really did fucking affect him, even though we were laughing about it. Because I was like, "Come on, Brody!" Like he knew I know he knows I loved him.
Oh yeah,
but I was reading the bad reviews, and every time he wanted to move on, I'd read another one. It was,
but it's like, I just don't like D'Elia. I do find it funny that D'Elia will engage his trolls. Like I don't. It's just.
It's fun, like to practice, like you're dealing with hecklers, but then it gets when you got Patton Oswalt who has 5 million Twitter followers, and I got like 20. I can't handle this. Like it's too much. I can't. I don't even know how he saw my tweet. If you have 5 million Twitter followers, how do you have time to respond to what I'm doing? Like,
but some people do. Like like every time I tweet at Dr. Ken, and this is why I love him. Literally within 2 minutes, he will tweet me back.
Well, he's probably,
now we're friends, but
yeah.
like. That's still he's got to have 3. I mean, who knows how many followers he has? But every time he'll tweet me back something, and like so, some people are like very like hip to their social media. Like they know every tweet, even if they have millions of followers, they will see every tweet.
You have a lot of time on your hands. That's all I'm saying. If you have 5 million Twitter followers, you should not be able to. You shouldn't respond to anyone with less than 1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I've got, I think, 10,000, and I don't see all my tweets.
Same here.
So I don't know. Maybe they have it set up. Certain words pop up. I am amazed at how someone like D'Elia or Dr. Ken or even Brody had like 100,000 followers.
Yeah, but Brody was all over those tweets.
Well, I think Brody actively looked at his Twitter.
Yeah,
and I just
D'Elia does too. He's always on his phone.
But I just. The comments, it's bullying. It's online bullying.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting in return after Patton. But what I found interesting is after that all happened, the people that followed me that have me blocked now, like comics who I thought were my friends, because they're like they saw what was happening at that instant and they tried to distance themselves at that moment.
Well, they might be friends with Patton, or like people are so touchy. I mean. But the funny, like when I was going at it,
and I don't even hate Patton Oswalt. I have no opinion. I just thought he, kind of kiss his ass. That's all.
Well, Jordan Peele's going to make a shitty hockey movie if there's not going to be any white people in it. Good luck with that one. But I mean, it's all it takes is for one tweet to get taken out of context, like yours,
saying
a harmless joke,
yeah.
and then it gets retweeted. It's like how to make your podcast popular. One tweet by Tyler the Creator, then this guy tweets it, this girl retweets one.
Well, on the flip side of that, I got like 1,000 Twitter followers, and I got subscribers from it. So, because people defended me, they're like, "This guy's just making a joke. Like he didn't threaten anyone." And people came to my defense, and then it became a choice of free speech and saying what you want. And Ari Shafir came to my defense on Punch Drunk, saying, "Chad made a joke. Whether you think it's funny or not, it's a joke, and he should be allowed to do what he wants on Twitter." And
Oh yeah, well it's just a different era, and this Me Too, and it obviously has nothing to do with you Me Tooing anyone, but like the sensitive PC nature of like I said fag once on Twitter.
Right. By the way, that's the name of the subject. It's Earl hates faggots. That's how I'm going to get the traction.
Yeah. Oh well, hey, I mean whatever. But I mean, I said fag once on Twitter about Kevin Hart hosting the Oscars, and it was harmless. It wasn't homophobic at all.
No.
And I got suspended for 12 hours. You
were in Twitter jail?
Yeah, I think I hashtagged the Oscars, which might have been a mistake. I said something like, "Hey, Kevin Hart, thanks for voting for me in Roast Battle in Montreal. I'll say fag for you." Is it the greatest joke? It probably isn't. But
it's pretty funny.
I mean, it's just stupid. But in this, it's just a different era. Which is, I hate to keep on bringing up Roast Battle, but like, I'm amazed that show's still around.
It's necessary
in this era.
I even tweeted. I told Jeff Ross, I go, we need that. That's so important right now. Roast Battle.
Oh, I think and I must say, Jeff at Brody's funeral. Unfortunately, we've probably been to a lot of funerals, comedy funerals.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot lately.
I think mine's next. Go ahead.
Well, it's a good way to get the numbers up. I mean, no offense to Piper Dine, but the day he died, I literally got 20,000 downloads, which for me is a lot.
That's good.
Like for Rogan, that's like an hour.
Yeah.
But for me to get that, and the same thing, I did a Ralphie May tribute because I never could get Ralphie up the stairs to do the podcast. I mean, literally, that's why I never had Ralphie on the podcast. I knew he couldn't get up the stairs to my house. But I did a Ralphie May tribute the day he died because I know how to, you got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that tribute special planned. When you're 594 pounds, like.
So you started writing?
Oh yeah, I wrote Ralphie's tribute episode 3 years before he died. I'm like, how'd you like to be the guy who got that cremation order? I mean, Jesus. The guy's probably still working on it.
I'm still working on my Artie Lang right now.
Well, but that's another guy who's like, how's this guy not dead? And then people will be surprised when he dies. It's like, come on. I mean, I loved Ralphie May so much because he would always help me out. Let me call my agent, get you on this show.
I never met Ralphie, but I heard he was nothing but generous to comics.
Dude, he was the best.
That's what I heard.
He was just like, I can't say enough nice words about him. I mean, I loved Ralphie May so much that I would have jumped into the coffin with him if there was room. But hello! His real name was Ralphie May, June, July, and August. Hello! Mama.
That was another one that got a little upset after Roast Battle.
Ralphie?
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't like that we talk about, or I talk about not liking battles, like I wouldn't have put Tiana against Dolph. Like I would have put Tiana against Jeff.
Yeah.
2 equal battles. And then put Dolph against Blake Griffin. Hey, here's 2 guys who've never done it before.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I mean, I still don't like, I don't think anyone should do Roast Battle for the first time on television because it's a different energy.
Sure.
Like I think my second Roast Battle ever was against John Morrison, the wrestler, Johnny Mundo, and what's that Mexican wrestling? And
the League?
No, it's Rodriguez does it. It's a Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
And I told him, hey man, and we just did a battle in the belly room. This was not on television. I'm like, hey, it's the wild energy up there. It's crazy. Just take your time. And I mean, here I am about to go up against him, and I'm giving him advice. And he's like, dude, I've been in front of 70,000 people at WrestleMania. I got this.
Oh, no.
And he bombed.
Oh, no.
Because it's just a different.
Yeah.
So I don't think people should do it on TV for the first time. But, with Mike or with Ralphie, I would not have put him against Mike Lawrence because Mike's an animal. Like, he lives for Roast Battle.
Yeah.
and he's a great writer. He's a great comic. I would have put Ralphie against, say, Sarah Tiana, who Sarah probably would have killed him before his arteries did. But, like, hello! But they're friends.
Yeah.
Like, Mike against Ralphie May just, to me, came off as bullying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, because, you sign up for roast battle. Ralphie knew what was going to go on, but he didn't prepare. He just studied wing it. And if you're going to wing it in roast battle, you can wing it against me, because I'm more of a performer than I am a writer of that style of humor. But against Mike Lawrence, he's not only going to have fat jokes, he's going to have divorce jokes. And Ralphie was going through a very painful divorce at the time.
Yeah.
He's going to have fat jokes that involve the divorce. He's going to have sub jokes about it's brutal. Like, he prepares.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that was a good battle.
It was hard to hide that poker face on Ralphie, though. That was a.
I was in the room that night because I think my battle with my first battle, they split it up. I'm not sure how they did it the last season, but in season 1 they had 4 battles the first night, 4 battles the second night. And then you battled the winners. It was like the NCAA tournament. So the second night, I get to just sit in the crowd, and I've never been so uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
I've been to gangbangs. I've seen some stuff sexually that, like, Larry Flint and Bob Guccione haven't seen. And
Have you ever been to a Bob Crane gangbang?
Yeah, I have. I've been to a Bob Crane-like gangbang. And so I literally just, the first joke Mike had was just like this brilliant, I'm going to butcher the joke, but it was something along the lines of, Ralphie's getting a divorce, his wife's going to get half, but if she just waits another 3 months, she'll get it all. And I'm not doing it justice, but in a room full of 1,000 people or whatever it was, and the energy is like, and then you just see Ralphie, like, deflate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck. And then he had like a street joke. He's like, Mike Lawrence, your breath is so bad it makes onions cry. And it's like, that's a joke I've heard on a Dixie Riddle cup. Like, if you're going to do that, Mike Lawrence is not the guy to do that.
Yeah.
Again. So it was just, I don't know if it's a battle that I would have organized.
Yeah.
But Ralphie was awesome. And, but getting back to the original, Jeff Ross is so good at funerals. Because at Ralphie's memorial.
Did you see how he broke open that Brody funeral?
Yeah, that line he did about, and I'm probably not going to do it justice, but, for those of you who weren't able to watch, I don't know if they live streamed.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Periscoped it, I think.
It's still on YouTube. You can watch it.
It's a packed main room. It's probably 500 people. Now, the main room probably sits 400, so it was just standing room only. Every big comic in the world was there.
Movie stars, Bradley, the whole cast of The Hangover.
That was, like, very impressive. And they weren't coming to get publicity. Literally, Bradley Cooper sat in the back with his hat down and just wanted to watch and pay tribute. But it's filled with Brody's childhood friends saying how great he was, and then Jeff was like,
and by the way, these friends are in a room for the funniest human beings alive, the best speakers in the world, and they're going on and on and on and on.
You've got Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Jeff Ross. I think Rogan was there, like Bill Burr.
Yeah.
It's
Jeselnik.
Yeah, you may never. Jeselnik was sitting in the audience, like just at a regular table, just like paying respect.
And they're on the main stage at the Comedy Store, going on and trying to be funny.
But Brody's friends, we had a run of like 6 of his friends who were just telling the saddest stories about Brody, and Jeff got up there, and it was so needed. It was just like, wow, after hearing all these stories about Brody's childhood, I know why he killed himself.
The place just blew up.
Oh, it was like a Kiss concert. But he did the same thing at Ralphie's memorial.
Yeah.
Where it was, once again, same, 6, 7 people in a row telling very sad Ralphie stories. And Jeff said something to the effect of, wow, this room is so sad, I want Gary Cannon to come up and bomb for another 15 minutes or something. Because Gary Cannon did like 27 minutes at Ralphie's memorial.
Really?
At one point, he brought up his mom. And Jeff went, his timing was just, it was needed. So, it was, I've been to a lot of comedy funerals lately.
Yeah.
Tough business.
And one funeral we got to talk about real quick before we wrap it up is.
I'm not wrapping up. I'm just getting my second win.
Oh, here we go.
We talked about.
And I'm pretty sure you had him on the podcast last. Was actor Jan Michael Vincent. I think you had him.
I didn't.
Oh, well, he
Yeah.
died. And he died like a month. A month later, they released that he died. And he's an actor that we're both fond of.
Well, you know, people. I mean, you got to be, I guess, over 50, or I mean, I'm 50. You got to be at least over 40 to even know who he was.
Yeah.
He really was the Brad Pitt of his generation.
Yeah.
And think about that. Like, I would not say that, you know, with some guy who was like in the original Shazam on CBS morning TV. I mean, he was. I mean, I'm straight. I know you are.
Yeah.
Jan Michael Vincent might be the best in his. If you take all of us in our prime and put pictures of us all together, Jan Michael Vincent might be the most perfect looking human being I've ever seen. And then to see him, you know, when he missing,
Basically become the most deformed creature before. Like he went from that to like this monster,
like
without a leg,
missing a leg. His face looked like he swallowed 2 ham bones.
a missing eye.
Greasy hair. Like he looked like he could have been in Guns N' Roses. And to like die, and then a month later, then it was just like so like, wow, this is Hollywood.
Yeah.
They really forget about you.
They
when
cheer you up,
you're-
spit you out. You're done.
Oh, they do, man. I mean, I how many times have we seen it in comedy?
I know.
I mean, look at Tiffany Haddish. She has one bad set, I think at New Year's or something, and just
And now she's at Kill Tony. I'm just kidding.
But I mean, but she's like the perfect example of someone who popped, and it's still popping, and just people ripping her because they just want to see her fail.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen it. I mean, we've both seen it. I mean, every comic who gets you look at Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
Like his first couple, he got so famous so fast. It was like, and then people ripping his movies, just destroying him, and it's like, this fucking guy's great.
Yeah. I've worked with Rob. He's good.
Oh, he gave me my first break, so I'm very loyal to him.
Yeah.
But just to see how people would like talk badly about him or Sandler or any comic, you know, from you and me to Jeselnik to Amy Schumer, and I mean Leslie Jones had like horrible racist tweets sent at her when Ghostbusters wasn't exactly like the biggest hit or whatever, but you know, it goes back to online trolls. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Of course, we all care.
Sure.
I think anyone who says they don't care cares the most.
Yeah.
You
When
know,
they say I don't care. Yeah, you do.
I mean,
Shut up.
If you didn't care about what people thought of you, you would do stand up in your living room. Like I'm going on stage tonight at the Comedy Store. It's not a plug because I'm assuming this will come out right around the time I'm on stage.
Yeah, it's coming out today. Actually, I got to get it out. So,
But you know,
It's
I
6.
want everyone in that room to fucking love me and laugh at every joke I say, and if they don't, I'm gonna be the first guy to be like. I mean, I had a bad set the other night at a bar. I couldn't sleep for 14 hours. I literally couldn't sleep.
Really?
It's a bar gig. It doesn't matter. No industry was in the room.
I haven't eaten shit in a while. I have yet to have that feeling for a while.
I mean,
It's coming.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't bomb often, but when I do, it's hard.
Yeah.
And now, in one sense, you might say that, well, there's no bombing at a bar show, that no one's really there for the comedy.
Yeah.
But I want to kill every time. So,
Yeah. I know what you're saying. But going back to Jan Michael Vincent, there was a movie called, well, like if you picture Brad Pitt and you picture him next to George Clooney in Ocean's 11, Jan Michael Vincent was next to Burt Reynolds. He was next to like that
Hooper.
He was next to Charles Bronson. He was always next to that guy. You know, he was the sidekick, the guy, the handsome sidekick.
My favorite movie of all time is a surf movie. I don't surf. My brothers did, but I'm a pale motherfucker.
Yeah.
Big Wednesday. And it's a surf movie.
Gary Busey, William Catt from A Greatest American Hero.
Prime, those three guys, prime, not teenagers. They must have been in their early 20s, mid 20s. who else was in that movie? Well, no one really. Some famous surfers, but
Was that 1974?
1978.
Ah,
It's a great story behind it. I know we got to wrap it up, but
no, it's fine. It's not bad if conversations are flowing.
yeah. I mean, that's the same way on my podcast. Whenever I invite someone on, they're like, "Well, how long do you do it?" I'm like, "Well, I stop when it gets boring."
Yeah.
But it is a great story of John Milius directed it, produced it, wrote it. He was friends with Spielberg and George Lucas.
I'm gonna call a surfer right now that I know that we both know.
Oh shit! And they traded points on the movie.
Yes, Chad.
Hey, Eddie, you're on the podcast with Earl Skakel.
It's actually Skakel.
Or Kennedy.
Oh, geez, you're awful.
Well, this was a great segment.
Whose
Let's.
podcast is this?
You think this is my idea?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Earl, what did you do that you had to do this?
Well, you sound like you're calling from Bin Laden's tunnel. This is, I told Chad I had bad Wi-Fi. He wants to call a guy who lives in the hills in Malibu.
Listen, it's Malibu adjacent. Stop.
I'm a fan of yours, Eddie. A lot of people think we don't like each other, but I'm a fan of the Ifster.
I am a fan of the Skakel family, especially Michael.
All right.
We're talking about surfing. Oh, you just hung up on him. I wanted to ask him about Big Wednesday.
I'll tell you about Big Wednesday.
You just hung up on Eddie F.
That's the way. It's a cold business.
Holy shit. You really have been in Hollywood a long time.
I have. I'm getting bitter by the second. But they Spielberg, Lucas, and John Milius traded points on their next movies. Now, Spielberg's movie was A Close Encounters, Lucas' movie was Star Wars, and Milius' movie was Big Wednesday. And they all gave each other points.
Really?
So who do you think got pissed? Here you have Spielberg giving him a cut of Close Encounters, Lucas, Star Wars, and then John Milius says, "Here's $7 from Big Wednesday. Don't spend it all in one place."
What was the grossing box office?
It was a bomb.
It ate, but
it's such a good movie because it encompasses so many. It's not just surfing; it's just the backdrop.
Yeah, but
it's a movie about three friends, how they grow apart. The Vietnam War comes, so William Catt is the only one who goes to Vietnam. Jan Michael Vincent and Gary Busey. It's a great scene where they fake injuries and stuff to get out of the draft, and then they all come back for the big wave.
Yeah.
So they all come back for Big Wednesday. So it's just that is my favorite Jan Michael Vincent movie. And then he got big from Airwolf and Hooper. But
Yeah.
I always like a Stars movie right before they got famous.
Yeah. Mine was White Line Fever, the trucker film.
Oh yeah,
I was a huge fan of it because when I was a child, my grandfather drove trucks. So, and during the late 70s, it was like trucker films. You got Smoking the Bandit, you got White Line Fever, you got Convoy.
You better say Convoy.
Oh, come on, C.B. McCall.
I have two of my favorite movies. Convoy was a movie I just grew up with. It's what you talk about, a good-looking dude. I probably sound like the biggest gay guy right now.
We are in West Hollywood.
Well, I lived there for 20 years, and still the strangest thing I've ever seen in this neighborhood. Now, 20 years of seeing guys blowing each other in the bushes, full anal right outside my balcony, gangbangs in the alley behind the nightclub. Is yesterday I see a black guy walking around in an Iron Maiden T-shirt. And I literally stopped him. I said to my girlfriend, what the fuck? We've been walking my dog late at night and seen sex and just go, hey guys, what's up? But a black guy in an Iron Maiden, like a vintage Iron Maiden, she's like, clearly this guy was a fan.
Yeah.
Wow, this is crazy.
Well, I'm good friends with Jim Florentine, who used to host that metal show. And he was telling me the new trend with black guys is they're wearing hard rock shirts. It's kind of catching on.
Well, it just didn't, it was so I'm doing a bit to a degree, but it's just wow, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in this neighborhood.
Yeah,
because he was walking with such pride in it.
Huge.
Convoy was Chris Christopherson, and Convoy that's a dude I want to look like when I am older, but when I turn 50, which I am, I want to look like Chris Christopherson in Convoy.
Grow the beard.
just a man. And Ally McGraw is like, she's not my type.
Yeah.
You know, I like boobs and stuff, but Ally McGraw in Convoy is like, wow, that's a woman.
Yeah.
And then Ernest Borgnine is the dirty cop. And you're right, though. There was that probably from like 75 to 80, it seemed to die out a little bit. There was a weird run on like trucker movies.
Yeah. I've always wanted to pitch a Hollywood trucker film, like an idea for a resurrect one of those.
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause I have truckers that listen to this podcast. I've had emails of truckers saying how it helps them, you know, because they're driving all goddamn day and they're bored. So people have emailed me.
yeah, your thing you have on my table right now looks like a CB.
It is.
Breaker 19, Breaker 19. We got a bear in the air with a plain brown wrapper. But you know, it's like that one year there was like 3 or 4 Vietnam movies.
Yeah, it was like Platoon, Full Metal Jacket,
Uncommon Valor.
that whole era of the like mid '80s.
And then there was that one summer, I think it was '89. It was 3, not submarine movies, but 3 movies about like the Star Wars of the ocean. There was like Leviathan, Deep Star 6, and there was a third movie.
It was the Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin film. It was off the Tom Clancy novel.
Well, there's the Hunt for Big Red October.
Yeah.
But because I remember Peter Weller was in Leviathan, and
Peter
then,
Weller. Murphy!
Dead or alive, your move, creep. I saw him at Equinox once. I've never been so starstruck in my
That's
life.
fucking awesome.
Well, he looked a little rough.
Do you work at the Equinox up there?
I work out at the one in West Hollywood, but the newest fitness craze I'm into, and then
I work out there.
Oh, at the Equinox?
Yeah, I work out around. I always see Dane Cook there. He's there.
Yeah, he's there. He's
Yeah.
he's a nice enough guy.
Fabio's there a lot.
Fabio's
too.
there, but I go next door to this gym called Rumble now.
Oh.
It's a boxing gym, and it's amazing. Like, it's so weird to take a boxing class next to Justin Bieber to your left, and then Earl to your right, who used to be my neighbor.
Yeah,
the great Jaleel White.
I heard he's a nice guy.
He was. I lived with him. I lived next to him in Century City. He was great then. He gets it. He's like, he's Urkel. I'm a millionaire for playing that character.
Yeah.
I'm good. So, which is refreshing to see a celebrity like that who gets it.
You know who else works out there is Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, he works out with this boxing dude at Equinox.
Yeah, Equinox. He's always
he's
like
a
in a
nice
weird.
guy.
I never talked to him, but
Well, he works out in his underwear a lot, like these Nike biker, like bicycle shorts, but they're not like black. Yeah. Like I take yoga in black biker shorts, so you can't really see my dick or anything. But Mickey Rourke works out in like these gray and like sometimes lime green, so you see his dick, and like he just doesn't care.
Well, I mean, look at his face. With all due respect.
Well, that's another dude. Like you talk about Jan Michael Vincent.
Yeah, 9.5 weeks. Mickey Rourke.
Like look at Mickey Rourke in Diner.
I forgot about Diner.
And
that's 81 too, right?
Yeah, it's early 80s, very early 80s. But it's just like
Paul Reiser. I brought Paul Reiser to the stage at Comedy and Magic Club.
Me too.
You did too?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking. I realized he was in Diner. Then I started thinking about his whole IMDb. I was like, you were an alien. You've had a great career.
I was like, when I brought him up, I'm like, what do you want me to say? He's like, oh, whatever you want, man. I'm like,
yeah, he's a real nice guy.
Oh, he was awesome, but I'm like, yeah, you love this next guy. It's the Dick and Aliens. And he gave me but still, it's not the worst intro I've given a celebrity, but I gave Ray Romano the worst intro once. I'm like, hey, you guys might like me, but you're going to love Raymond.
That's terrible.
Oh, it's horrible. But I said it the same thing. It's like, what do you bring up one of the most famous comics in the world? At least like Jim Gaffigan gave me some guidelines because he was just in an episode, I think, on Law and Order where he played a pedophile.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, man, can I bring you up as the pedophile from Law and Order? And he just looks at me and goes, no. I'm like, okay, I'll just... Clubs and colleges? Like, when you say to someone, whatever, like, it's a dangerous rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I brought up Chris Rock once, and I wanted to say you may have seen him in New Jack City. And just
Pookie.
Pookie, but I just said, hey, ladies, your next he said, keep it down. He goes, no, I don't want no build-up or anything. And I was like, all right, fine. So I was like, your next comic is Chris Rock. Thank you.
your next comic is Scotty, I'm gonna die. So,
All right, top 5 heels of all time. We'll wrap this up.
let me see. Wrestling or roast battle?
I'll say
my bad.
wrestling.
My bad. Yeah. Well, Piper number 1. Rick Rude.
Because I kind of look at you like a heel.
But I take my roast battle character from Rick Rude with a little bit of Ric Flair. I would say Ric Flair. So it's Piper, Rude, Flair, and then I liked Kamala when he was a bad guy. Early Kamala.
Right.
Because, this is back in the 80s when there was no internet. Now you could Wikipedia me or Chad and go, okay, Earl's from West LA, Chad's from here. They've done this, they've done that. You could not Wikipedia Kamala in the mid-'80s. So you really, at least I thought, wow, this guy's really from Africa.
Yeah.
Like, he's a savage. Like, he's brutal. I would say early Abdullah the Butcher. Now, I realize these aren't necessarily the biggest names, especially Abdullah the Butcher, because
After he did to his face and head.
Oh my God, the fork and the cheese grater but he was a great bad guy.
Yeah.
And then to round out the top 5, I would say the NWO has a threesome. The first 3. Not when Virgil and Buff Bagwell.
No, that got out of control.
But like you hated them. Like,
but when Hulk Hogan turned, to this day,
that's another one. Well, it's Wrestling 9/11.
That was the 9/11 of wrestling when Hulk Hogan turned. I mean, it was bad.
When that second leg hit Macho Man, that was like watching Tower 2 fall. I mean, hello.
It was worse than LeBron going to Miami. It was horrible.
Almost as bad as him going to L.A. That's fucking brutal, man. I mean, I'm a hockey guy, and we were horrible this year, but like the Lakers were like, Jesus Christ, man.
He's here on a paycheck to make movies. That's all he's here for.
But like, I grew up in the 80s. I went to every Laker game because my dad's company had tickets, and I was spoiled.
Yeah.
Like, that was my first introduction into basketball was
Showtime.
A prime Magic, a prime Worthy, a prime Jamal Wilkes.
Yeah.
Even when we brought in my favorite bench player, Bob McAdoo, 2 for Dew.
In the forums.
Spencer Haywood. Like, even it's like why I like heavyweight boxing so much.
Oh, dude, you were around when Tyson was Tyson.
But if you look at I'm 50, I grew up with a prime Joe Frazier, a prime George Foreman, a prime Muhammad Ali, and even the second tier guys. And I'm going to mention a name now. And if your listeners can get one thing from this podcast, every person I turn on to this fight is like, this is the greatest fight I've ever seen. It's only 4.5 rounds. I think it was 1977.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah, it's very easy to find. It's George Foreman versus Ron Lyle. And most of you are like, who's Ron Lyle? He was one of the great heavyweights of the 70s, but in his prime, he was in Colorado State Prison for 7.5 years. And he fought Ali, and he was beating Ali for 11 rounds, and then Ali TKO'd him. And then he fought George Foreman. People talk about Hearns and Hagler, that 3-round wild. Yeah. This is the heavyweight version. It's a prime George Foreman. Never been knocked down before. Not even close to being knocked down. Ron Lyle knocked him down 3 times.
Damn.
And then Foreman knocked him out 3 times and ended up winning. But it is – so even a guy like Ron Lyle was a great fighter. Ernie Shavers. And then you had like Larry Holmes and Tyson and like Lennox. I mean, I grew up with just wow. Yeah. Now it's like the Klitschko brothers.
Yeah. You actually kind of grew up – you're going to die like right when you're supposed to. Because you saw all the cool shit.
Yeah, I mean, my parents would say the same rap to me, like, "Oh, if you were only alive when Elvis was around," and I feel the same way because it's like with the dirt coming out about Motley Crue, it's like, God, I lived it. Like,
yeah,
I drove through any part. I lived in West LA, so any party I went to was in the Hollywood Hills.
You party with Motley Crue?
I was at the. I mean, I don't remember them specifically, but I mean, I was at like house parties when Bret Michaels and CeCe DeVille were there.
What about Guns N' Roses?
I remember, I'll never forget this. It must have been right around, I don't know if it was the day they actually got signed, but if you're ever on Sunset and you, it's about a quarter of a block west of Doheny. And I know this is like, what do you?
No, LA's famous.
So it's Sunset and Doheny. A little bit west of there is I don't know what it is now, but it used to be Geffen Records. And I'll never forget, around 87-ish, maybe early 88, driving by, and I saw Guns N' Roses standing outside.
Really?
It was so memorable to me because
Was Appetite out? Or
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it had to have been right around the same time. I remember Slash in his top hat. I remember very vividly Steven Adler and Duff McKagan smoking cigarettes. And there was like 2 or 3 other people that were probably Axl and Izzy. And it was just...
That's cool.
But it's just so crazy to explain that at nighttime what Sunset was like. It's like from Doheny to, say, the Comedy Store, which is about a mile stretch, maybe a little longer. It was like an ant farm of pussy and good-looking dudes who looked like women. Like you'll never see, and
chicks were banging everybody.
Everyone was fucking, sucking. There's just no internet once again. So if you had a show,
Me Too never existed.
Oh my God, it was Why Not Me. I mean it's hard to explain, but that's how it was.
Yeah,
like,
God damn it.
And then you had. It was like the perfect mesh of music and comedy because you go see Guns N' Roses at either the Roxy,
the Whiskey,
or Gazzari's, which was the big club, which is now where Jay-Z's Club One Oak is. Van Halen got their start there a little earlier. Rat got their start there. You could go to the Troubadour, which is Santa Monica in Doheny, but it's literally you can walk. And then
Did you go see when Guns reunited at the Troubadour?
I didn't. It was too hard to get in.
Yeah.
But then you could go to the Comedy Store and see Dice blowing up, Kinnison blowing up. Every big
Holy shit!
It was just so.
Nothing will be better than that.
Well, now it's just like there's like 7, 8 different comedy venues you could go see a Jeselnik or whoever.
But I'm talking with music and comedy at the same time.
It was the and
music's not holding up their end. Comedy's doing good.
Comedy's doing great, but it's almost too much. I mean, there's 50,000 specials out there. You have now people are releasing it. Like Luis Gomez just did his special. I think he's releasing it for free.
Yeah, Sam Tripoli, same thing.
Tripoli did his at the Viper Room. I think with his it was $5 to buy. Ari Shaffir did something similar. But back then, if you wanted to go see comedy, you had to leave your fucking house.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to see a band.
And you didn't have a phone, you had to watch?
Yeah, you couldn't, I'm on a huge Killers kick right now.
Yeah.
So if I want to, watch a Killers video for Read My Mind, I can just put on YouTube right now and watch that video over and over again like a maniac. But back then, if you wanted to see the Killers or Kiss or whoever, you had to get in your car, you had to go to the Forum.
Did you go see Kiss when they did the Sirius XM down here?
It was too hard to get in, but I saw with my girlfriend 2 shows. We went to the Honda Center, front row, and then we saw them at the Forum. But it's a different medium of entertainment.
Yeah.
It's back then. If you got the Tonight Show on the couch, you had a year's worth of work.
Yeah.
The next day.
Right.
I was on Comedy Central via Roast Battle 5 nights and 6 days. Like, to be on the #1 network 5 nights and 6 days, you'd think I'd be world famous.
Yeah.
It didn't. Got me some things, but I'm not a household name. So it's just because there's just too much.
Well, I'm a fan.
I'm a fan of yours. You keep it real, and sometimes I'm starting to think that I don't know if it's necessarily good to keep it real.
No, it bites you in the ass.
Well, like we said, the opening minutes of this podcast, I think if you speak the truth and it's not just talking shit, saying, well, this person sucks, or that band sucks, or this comic sucks, or this show sucks, have a reason to say it.
Yeah, I'm learning. I just moved back. I'm learning how to be fake.
You have to. I mean, I invented the phrase palming. Which is, I'm going to see it tonight at the Comedy Store. There's a lot of high-level palming goes on there.
Yeah.
Because there's like 3 or 4 popular shows all at the same time. I had a comic the other night say, "Hey, great set, Earl." I'm like, I just got here. Like, I literally
that is palming.
Like, that is ultimate palm. I palmed too. At Brody's Memorial. I was talking shop with Dr. Ken. Now we're friends.
Yeah, I saw you guys talking. I was hanging with you.
So it wasn't necessarily palming, but I see people tonight. There'll be people telling so-and-so, hey, I loved you on Roast Battle, and they're just trying to get on the show. They probably have never seen Roast Battle.
Yeah.
But, you have to be, unfortunately, it's who you know in this business. I mean, being funny keeps you in the door, doesn't get you in the door.
That's true.
So you have to palm your way to the bottom.
Well, plug away. What do we got? We got Twitter, we got Instagram, we got a podcast. Plug it all.
It's very easy. On Twitter and Instagram, it's just at Earl Skakel. It's EARL SKAKEL. I do have a podcast, Inappropriate Earl. It's on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. If you don't do the iTunes thing,
Hit subscribe.
play. I mean, for my fans who will listen to this, subscribe to Chad's. What's the name of this?
It's called the Sit Down Zumock Podcast.
I'm telling you, it's so easy to leave a review. You literally hit subscribe in under a second, and then leave a review. It's 30 seconds, and all the algorithms are based on subscriptions and reviews. And you guys complain. I'm sure some of you will complain to Chad. Well, no one knows who Earl is. I didn't find him interesting. Well, if you want Chad to interview Tom Cruise, you think Tom Cruise is going to do a podcast that has 7 subscribers? I mean, but it's literally how it works.
Yeah.
That's the number one complaint on my podcast. Is it started out cool when you interviewed Stephen Piercy from Rat, but now it's just unknown open micers. Well, no famous person is going to want to do a podcast that has 8 listeners.
Yeah.
So you guys have to do a little legwork for me and Chad.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Even if I don't recognize, if I like the podcast, I'll give it a listen because I'm bored, and I end up becoming a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think, my podcast is at the point where I can ask Rob Riggle, hey, would you mind? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, you've had Rob Schneider on, you've had Jeff Ross on, sure. But if you want bigger guests, audience members, you got to, help us out, too.
Yeah.
It sounds so gay to say that, but, the fans can get bigger guests on Chad and mine's podcast with one simple review.
And if you love comedy, which you probably do, the comics I've had on here, you got Burt Kreischer, you got Mark Norman, you got Kevin Brennan, you got Jim Florentine. I mean, you got comics, and Earl's right in that wheelhouse of comics. So give him a follow, hit subscribe, leave a review. Thanks. We'll see you next week, guys.
Sit down, Zumock.
Sit down, Zumock.
I've got at least one pair of good shoes in the back of the closet somewhere.